There are not many fighters which are known to be masters of martial arts in general. Few fighters have managed to professionally master several martial arts at once and achieve success in these disciplines, especially at international competitions. One phenomenal fighter who has achieved this is an American athlete with Vietnamese roots, Cung Lee. He excelled in such martial arts as Wushu Sanda, kickboxing, Sambo, American wrestling, and Greco-Roman wrestling. His unexpected combination of punches, which he used in battles and knocked out his opponents, were called cinematic by reviewers. This led Cung Lee to a career also in acting, where he was fairly successful. Cung Lee was born in Vietnam, but was evacuated by the U.S. military at the age of 3 during the war, and subsequently settled with his mother in California. It was his mother who encouraged him to study martial arts, due to the fact that his peers repeatedly bullied Lee because of his non-American origin. Before graduating from high school, he became an All-American wrestler twice, won awards at state championships, and won competitions for the national championship in American wrestling, Greco-Roman wrestling, and Sambo. But he always considered Wushu Sanda as his basic discipline, and specifically chose tournaments where he could use this technique in a match. He became the U.S. champion and then the world champion in this discipline. Cung also mastered kickboxing and taekwondo in parallel, where he showed excellent results. Lee compiled a perfect 17-0 record as a professional kickboxer. With such a versatile skill set, he was the perfect mixed martial artist, which was already very popular at the time. Cung Lee made his debut in MMA at the age of 33 and won the admiration of many fans with his first victory. He was already known by many as an actor in several action films and the television series Walker, Texas Ranger with Chuck Norris. But many thought he was just an actor, not a fighter. His first opponent was the American Mike Altman at the Strikeforce tournament in March of 2006. They appeared in the undercard for the fight where Frank Shamrock knocked out Cesar Gracie in 20 seconds. In the future, Shamrock and Lee would clash in a spectacular duel, but for now, let's talk about Lee's debut. For his second MMA match, Cung Lee entered the octagon 3 months later against the American fighter Brian Warren, nicknamed Mr. Unbreakable. The American had lost only once in his last 6 fights and looked very confident when he entered the ring.
About that fight in Vegas.
After the bell, Cung moved to the center of the ring and first threw out a high kick. The American rushed to the attack, but ran into a counter hook from Lee.
They moved to the cage, and Lee on the attack with both his feet and his hands.
Cung performed a beautiful throw, and then showed his dominance when the fight moved to the ground.
Striking martial artist. When he's done something that Cung Lee's last opponent was.
Brian Warren closed his guard and tried every way to tie his opponent's hands. The referee pulled the fighters to their feet, and Cung started with a back middle kick with his right foot. Warren attempted to catch Cung's legs, but ran into a knee in the head.
See the blood flowing from the nose of Cung Lee.
Totally catching those spinning heel kicks and side kicks.
And they are deadly as they connect with authority.
Warren continued to press, but ran into good counterattacks from Lee. The American lowered his hands and began to taunt Lee. He ran forward again and encountered a series of oncoming hooks, knocking him down, where he was reluctant to get up. It was Cung Lee's second spectacular win for the Strikeforce promotion, and those who thought he was just an action movie star shut their mouths.
Either escaped from Vietnam, he was picked on as a kid, turned to martial arts.
Brian Warren fought through 2013 and ended his career with a record of 18-17. 6 months later, Cung entered the octagon under the Strikeforce banner against the American fighter Jason Von Flue, nicknamed Livewire. After the gong, Cung threw a high kick, but Jason closed the distance and Lee hit him in the head with a knee. As it turns out later, this blow became decisive in the fight, since Jason received a severe cut near his right eye. The referee, however, stopped the fight so the doctors could examine Jason's cut. By the decision of the doctor, Livewire could no longer continue to fight, and Cung Lee won by a technical knockout. Cung Lee, in addition to fighting, was appearing in films such as Gloomy Killer and Close Combat. Due to the filming schedule, he next entered the professional ring 7 months later. His new opponent was a black belt in karate and jiu-jitsu, Tony Strickland, nicknamed The Freak. Strickland had a good start to his MMA career, but lately he had been alternating wins with losses, including that spectacular reverse elbow defeat to Anderson Spider Silva at Cage Rage 16, which has forever entered the list of unusual knockouts in MMA. Cung Lee began the fight by kicking Strickland on every level. In the 3rd minute, Lee shocked his opponent with a counter cross and immediately knocked him down with a short right hook to the jaw. Strickland immediately jumped up and almost ate a powerful head kick. The variety of kicks delivered by Cung was striking, and were not only spectacular, but also very accurate and strong. The 3rd round began with a beautiful and powerful hook kick from the Vietnamese fighter. After that, Cung delivered a middle kick to the liver area, from which Strickland writhed in pain. After a few finishing hooks, the Freak falls and the referee stops the fight. Another stoppage victory for Cung Lee, and another step close to a fight for the Strikeforce organization's middleweight belt. Strickland next returned to the octagon after almost a 6-year break, where that fight ended in a draw. After that, the Freak no longer fought in the pros. 5 months later, Cung Lee fought against American MMA fighter Sam Morgan, nicknamed The Squeeze. Morgan entered the fight with a record of 19-8, and this was his debut in the Strikeforce organization. Morgan was very aggressive and charged straight into the fight, but Lee stopped him with a powerful sidekick and pulled a takedown. The fighters immediately got to their feet, and Sam decided to resume his aggressive attack. Cung skillfully defended with counterpunches, but he missed an overhand and fell. However, the Squeeze also fell, and Lee was able to dominate on the ground. After returning to their feet, Cung knocked down Morgan with a tight sidekick.
Morgan's got to pull those hands back and relax. You can't swing every punch like that. Too easy to see.
Takes Morgan down. Tries to go to work. He's got that arm.
The Squeeze worked with sweeping punches and threw several hooks that landed on Lee's head. But the first round went to Cung Lee. The second round followed the same pattern as the first, with Morgan attempting to lead the fight with sweeping punches. Cung Lee pushed forward and tried to counterattack in series. There was a brief fight on the ground where Lee controlled and even attempted to use a crucifix hold.
Sam Morgan's crawling in.
The second round was also won by Cung Lee. At this point, Morgan could only hope for an early victory, so he immediately went on the attack, but ran into a powerful counter hook from Lee. Immediately, another right hook knocked Morgan down, but Lee could not finish him off.
Punch so hard.
Cung standing right on top of Sam.
In the second minute, Cung landed a powerful middle kick to the liver. The squeeze falls to his knees, clearly in pain. Lee delivers one finishing blow to the head, and the referee stops the fight. Cung Lee gets his 5th win in a row in the Strikeforce promotion and remains an undefeated fighter. After that, Sam Morgan suffered 3 more defeats and hung up his gloves. After the fight with Morgan, Cung became the main contender for the Strikeforce promotion's middleweight belt. At that time, it was owned by the legendary veteran Frank Shamrock, and it was his first defense of the title. Frank was a former Pancrase, UFC, and WEC light heavyweight champion, and is now the Strikeforce champion, having beaten Phil Baroni in his last fight. The legend Shamrock is known for defeating big-name fighters such as Bas Rutten, Minoru Suzuki, and Tito Ortiz. At that time, he lost only once in his last 14 fights. The fight between Shamrock and Lee took place in March of 2008 and began with a kickoff at distance. The fighters remained on their feet throughout the first round. Shamrock led the fight, striking Lee and taunting him with gestures, trying to get into his head. The second round was also fought standing. A good combination of a left cross and a right hook from Lee was the highlight of the second round. Cung Lee started the third round with head kicks. The fight intensified and Lee landed an unusual hook kick and back fist combination. There was another beautiful hook from the Vietnamese fighter, but without a follow-through. Shamrock threw a counter-heavy right cross. In an exchange where Shamrock was more successful, he threw these 2 powerful hooks near the net. And in the last seconds, Cung threw a powerful high kick to the head, which Shamrock blocked with his right hand, which explains why he lowered his guard so strangely and began to retreat. Lee rushed to finish off his opponent, but the bell sounded. Shamrock did not reach the 4th round. It turned out that Lee's high kick at the end of the third round broke Frank's arm.
I love you, Tom, my God, Anthony. I love you guys.
Lee won the fight via TKO to become the Strikeforce middleweight champion. A year later, Frank Shamrock entered the octagon for the last time against Nick Diaz, but lost by technical knockout. The next time Cung Lee entered the octagon was at the end of 2009. After defeating Shamrock, he chose not to defend the Strikeforce middleweight title, instead taking a break from sports to pursue his acting career. During this period, he starred in 3 action films. His next opponent was the American puncher Scott Smith, nicknamed Steel Hands. He was a former WEC light heavyweight champion and had a record of 16, 6, and 1 with 13 stoppage wins. Smith immediately rushed to the attack, but Cung skillfully shifted to the side. Lee held back the opponent's onslaught with various kicks, and in the 3rd minute, a powerful back kick to the chest dropped Smith to the canvas.
It was the thud of the kick. He is shelling up, and Cung Lee to variety, however.
I think that Cung Lee should stand back up and go for another highlight reel kick, to be honest.
Smith somehow survived dozens of finishing hammer fists and managed to break free. But almost immediately, Kung's spinning hook knocked him off his feet again. The first round was won by the Vietnamese fighter. The second round began with a barrage of leg kicks from Lee, and in the 2nd minute, Cung delivered a body blow with a hard back kick and dropped Smith once more. Lee did not have any success on the ground, and the fighters fought in the standing position until the end of the round. Scott took the end of the round with his aggressive punch attack. Cung started the 3rd round with a beautiful spinning hook to the head. For more than a minute, Smith could not get close to the Vietnamese fighter due to his constant kicking. There was a successful punch attack, including a tight back fist from Lee, and it seemed that Cung completely dominated this round and did not allow Scott to throw more than one blow at any time. Then, unexpectedly, in the 4th minute, Smith goes on the attack and catches Lee's jaw with a left hook. Cung gets up and takes another left hook. Then a hard cross, from which Lee falls again. Scott, sensing victory, does not let go of Lee and unleashes several finishing blows. Cung Lee dominated the whole fight, but one punch decided everything. It was clear that Cung was very upset by his first defeat and immediately demanded a rematch. The second fight took place June 2010 in California, United States. This time, Cung Lee pulled out his victory by knocking out Scott Smith in the 2nd round. In 2011, Cung Lee signed a contract with the UFC. In his first fight, Lee fought former Pride champion Wanderlei Silva. The Brazilian, nicknamed the Axe Murderer, was already an MMA veteran with an impressive 33-11-1 record. He was known for his victories over such eminent fighters such as Dan Henderson, Kazushi Sakuraba, Quentin Jackson, Michael Bisping, and others. This bout was one of the most spectacular and toughest of Cung Lee's career and was hailed as the fight of the night. After the bell, Lee took the center of the ring and tried to find a comfortable distance. Silva waited for the right moment and delivered a right cross. Cung later responded with a powerful back fist, which knocked down the Brazilian. Silva got away from Lee's finishing blows and was able to fully recover. The Axe Murderer went on the counterattack and took the end of the round. At the beginning of the 2nd round, Lee led the fight and dominated. At the last minute, the Brazilian carries out a swift attack. With a right cross, he knocks Lee to the ground. Cung somehow survives, barely standing on his feet. Another powerful blow from Silva with a knee from a tie clinch decides the outcome of the fight. It was the 2nd unfortunate defeat for Cung Lee. Wanderlei Silva had 4 more fights and won only once, but 2 of them were declared the fight of the evening. In 2012, Cung Le held 2 more fights in the UFC. In both fights, Lee was considered a big underdog, probably because of his advanced age for such a sport. In the first fight, he defeated ex-champion Patrick Cote by unanimous decision. All of the judges gave every round to Cung. And in the second fight, the 40-year-old Lee fought former UFC middleweight champion Rich Franklin, nicknamed Ace. Recently, Franklin had alternated victories with defeats, but he did defeat Wanderlei Silva twice, including in his last fight. The fight between Franklin and Lee did not last even a round. Cung opened with kicks, and Rich was trying to catch Lee with counterpunches. Franklin worked well with combinations, and Cung threw more single punches. On the 3rd minute, Ace started his next combination with a low kick. However, Cung caught him with a short but heavy hook and set Rich to a dead knockout. After this fight, Franklin hung up his gloves and Lee was awarded the Knockout of the Night, which many sports writers considered the knockout of the year. The next time Cung Le returned to the UFC octagon after almost 2 years, he took on young British fighter the Count Michael Bisping in the main 5-round bout of the evening. Bisping was the champion of several English promotions and the winner of the Ultimate Fighter 3, but had been alternating wins and losses lately. In the first round, Bisping led the fight more, while Cung mainly used kicks, and the Briton worked with combinations. By a small margin, the Count won the first round. In the second round, Cung took a lot of damage. He had 2 cuts after several attacks by Bisping. His jabs and right hands rained down on Lee in abundance. The Briton, seeing the opponent's blood, increased his speed and added hooks and uppercuts. By the end of the round, both of Cung's eyes were badly swollen. The doctor allowed the fight to continue. Lee entered the 4th round with his eyes almost swollen shut. It was evident that both fighters were tired and slowed down. But in the first minute of the 4th round, Bisping cut him down with a knee to the head, and after several finishing blows, the referee stopped the fight. It was Cung Le's 3rd defeat and his last. After this fight, he ended his career as an MMA fighter with a record of 9-3. Cung Le had a short but colorful career in mixed martial arts. His spectacular fighting technique still captivates fans. This American Vietnamese champion, actor, producer, and action director was adored in Hollywood and was famous in many parts of East Asia. Lee has turned his undeniable charisma, world-class athleticism, and significant competitive accomplishments into a successful career in sports and film.